It began with a single step, an unbidden movement that transformed a town square into a stage for madness. A solitary figure, her body writhing to a rhythm no one else could hear, danced with abandon. At first, onlookers laughed, their amusement concealing unease. But when others joined her, one after another, arms flailing, legs convulsing, the laughter curdled into fear. Soon, dozens were caught in the frenzy, a sea of twisting, turning bodies lost in the throes of what seemed like an uncontrollable compulsion. What could possess an entire community to dance itself to exhaustion, even death? The St. Vitus Dance epidemics, haunting Europe during the medieval and early modern periods, remain one of history's most perplexing enigmas. Were they divine punishments, mass hysteria, or the collective cry of souls pushed to the brink by unseen pressures? The answers lie at the intersection of psychology, culture, and the shadowy fears that grip humanity when faced with the inexplicable. Picture the summer of 1518 in Strasbourg, a city bustling with the ordinary rhythms of life. Suddenly, Frau Trophäa, a local woman, stepped into the street and began to dance. Her movements were neither joyful nor elegant, more erratic than graceful. She didn't stop. Hours passed. Days passed. Her body weakened, but still, she danced. By the week's end, dozens had joined her, their faces twisted in pain, their feet bloodied from relentless motion. The town's leaders, baffled and desperate, declared it an act of divine wrath. To appease St. Vitus, the saint believed to punish with this affliction, they hired musicians to encourage the dancers, thinking that ritualized motion might release them. Instead, the epidemic spread like wildfire. What could compel such behavior? Some say it was ergotism, a poisoning caused by consuming rye bread tainted with ergot, a fungus with hallucinogenic properties. Imagine the mind gripped by visions, the body seizing as though marionetted by unseen strings. Could these townspeople have been victims of a biological phenomenon that blurred the line between the spiritual and the corporeal? Or was there something deeper at play, a psychological release for a society burdened by plagues, famines, and existential dread? Mass psychogenic illness offers a compelling explanation. Imagine the collective psyche of a community teetering on the edge, weighed down by centuries of suffering and uncertainty. The human mind, craving order in chaos, is prone to suggestion. What if Frau Trophäa's dance was the spark that ignited a powder keg of communal anxiety? In a time when science was nascent and the supernatural provided answers to life's cruelties, the act of dancing could have become a shared expression of desperation, an unconscious rebellion against the harsh realities of existence. But why dance? To modern sensibilities, this choice seems absurd, even grotesque. Yet, in the medieval imagination, dance was both sacred and profane, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Ritual dances marked the seasons, celebrated the saints, and invoked blessings. Was the act of uncontrollable dancing a distorted echo of these traditions, a spiritual plea twisted by despair? And if so, what does it say about the human condition that we turn to movement, to physical expression in times of collective crisis? Imagine standing in that square, watching the dancers in their trance-like states, hearing the frenzied music played by hired musicians, and feeling the oppressive heat of the summer sun. Would you have felt the pull, the inexplicable urge to join them? The power of suggestion is a potent force, especially in tightly knit communities where the boundaries between individual and collective identity blur. Perhaps some joined out of fear of exclusion or punishment, while others may have genuinely felt swept up in a wave of shared emotion. The church, too, played a role in shaping the narrative. The medieval world was steeped in religiosity, where every misfortune was a test of faith or a sign of divine displeasure. St. Vitus, a patron saint often invoked against epilepsy and other ailments, became central to the epidemic's framing. The afflicted believed they had incurred his wrath, their bodies becoming vessels for his punishment. How much of their suffering was physical, and how much was born of belief? In a time when faith and fear were inseparable, could the power of suggestion alone have driven them to such extremes? As the epidemic spread to other towns and across the years, the stories grew stranger, more elaborate. In Aachen in 1374, it was said that dancers were compelled to leap into rivers, believing the waters would cool their burning feet. In other accounts, dancers claimed visions of heaven and hell, their movements reflecting their torment or rapture. Each narrative added layers to the mystery, turning it into a tapestry of human frailty and resilience. From a psychological perspective, these episodes illuminate the vulnerability of the human mind under duress. Carl Jung might have described the epidemic as an eruption of the collective unconscious, where archetypes of divine wrath and redemption manifested through bodily expression. Freud might have pointed to repressed desires and anxieties, finding release in a socially acceptable, if destructive, form. Even modern psychologists see parallels with phenomena like groupthink, mob mentality, and the contagious nature of fear. And yet, as much as these theories explain, they also deepen the mystery. Why did the outbreaks stop as suddenly as they began? Why did they occur in certain places and not others? Could there be an element of randomness, a reminder that not all human behavior fits neatly into psychological or historical frameworks? The legacy of the St. Vitus Dance epidemics endures, not just in history books, but in the questions they pose about human nature. What would you do faced with such inexplicable madness? Would you succumb to the pull of the crowd, or resist, even as the world around you seemed to unravel? These questions remain as relevant today as they were centuries ago, in a world still grappling with the limits of understanding. Perhaps the most haunting lesson of the epidemic is its reflection of the human need for meaning. Whether through faith, science, or art, we seek to make sense of the senseless, to impose order on chaos. The dancers of Strasbourg and Aachen may never have understood what drove them, but their actions remind us of the power of belief, the fragility of the mind, and the enduring mystery of the human spirit. Were the dancers divine punishments, mass hysteria, or simply a culture pushed to the brink by unseen pressures? Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more videos like these.